Hello and welcome to another episode of Ignite&Scale. I'm your host, Mike Allen from Cambria Private Capital. Today's episode is unique as we continue to explore the automotive sector's future and how key businesses are helping dealerships navigate these challenging times. For today's episode, I'm thrilled to be joined by Jeremy Evans, the Chief Executive of Marketing Delivery. This company has played a vital role in helping Cambria improve customer communications and retention. As we look towards 2025, Marketing Delivery's innovative approach will likely be even more critical as the industry faces challenges and increased customer expectations. Jeremy, it's great to have you here.
Great to see you, Mike.
I mean, as I've mentioned, Marketing Delivery has been a great partner for Cambria for some time. Perhaps maybe you could share how you've been able to reach many dealers aside from us and why staying connected with customers is crucial, especially in tough market conditions.
Yeah, as you say, we've been involved with Cambria from some of the fairly early days of both companies, actually. And I think we've kind of grown up together as the both businesses have evolved. And the key to us, I guess, having that longevity with Cambria, but also then expanding with other clients and new clients, has been our ability to kind of look at dealer data and the various different sources of it. I mean, if I think with Cambria, I think we started off with the Ebb and Dax DMS way back when. Moved from that to kind of Pinewood, have overlaid that with Inquiry Max data for the JLR sites, and then ePro following that for inquiry management with the other locations. And as we've expanded out with other dealer groups, we've become a key loop partner to manage that data set. We understand the data that dealers have to manage because we've been there and done it. So my senior team have all been at the coalface in dealerships and worked with. I think my first version of Kerridge was Rev 7.3, I think, back in the early 2000s. My ops director Simon was the sales director at the at the Bristol Strip dealership that I was the marketing manager of. And we kind of sat there. We used to try and plug this data into Access databases back in the day to make it do things. And I guess we've been able to evolve that. If that was the first version of our data hub, then we're probably on version 12 by now, where we're constantly plugging in new data sources and using new technologies, so that vast myriad of data that dealers have got on their customers and on the vehicles related to those customers can all be overlaid to get the best possible contact points to keep the dealers in touch with those customers. And that's been our mantra, really. It's been keeping dealers in touch with customers through the most relevant and actionable kind of data points we can find.
I mean, what do you, from what you're seeing with the myriad of data dealers you work with, what do you think their biggest challenges are at the moment, and how do you think your platform can most help overcome these challenges?
I think it is making sense of all those sources of data. So if you're sat in a dealership, either on the sales or the service side of the business, you've got more than one database that tells you what's happening with customers and vehicles, and trying to make sense of that and keep up to date with that. Let's face it, there are less physical people working in dealerships than ever before. The kind of the headcount per rooftop, if you like, is at probably an all-time low level, but the information available on customers and vehicles is probably higher than it's ever been. So managing whether that's stock sources, whether that's open inquiries, whether that's the customer you've not been able to get hold of for a few weeks that you might be tempted just to mark off as lost, or from a service department trying to get hold of somebody for a health check authorization. Those kind of data levels are really difficult to manage in-house by physical people on the ground day to day. So really, you have to let the tech do the heavy lifting. And bring the customer back to the physical person at the point when the customer's ready, when it's most relevant for them, and then allow that physical kind of interaction to take place, but let the tech do the heavy lifting of interrogating all those different data sources to bring the customer back in front of you when it's the most opportune moment for them.
I mean, it's easier said than done, as we've discussed before. Dealers face a lot of different systems. Double keying needs to be avoided at all costs as well. Maybe we can delve a bit more into automation. Especially communication, inventory management, and how you can help dealers save time and resources.
Yeah, again, I guess another important kind of mantra of ours really is we don't want the dealers to have to do anything different to make our processes and our systems work. So we want to take the data from the source. So whether that be the DMS, whether that be the website where the stock sits, whether that be the after sales health check platform, wherever that may be, we don't want the dealer to have to do something different, have yet another piece, a system to key information into this. They've got enough, probably too many already. So we've always sucked the data out from its existing platforms within the dealership, but we give a lot of information back on that data quality and how good that data is, because for our systems and processes to work, we need the data to be decent. And very often when we start working with a new client, with a new dealership, the first thing we'll do is an audit on that data just to find out what it looks like. People who don't own the vehicle, you think own them anymore. Even in this day and age, we're still reporting back and telling dealers about photos they haven't got of vehicles on their website and on the feed that comes to us. So if you think you're a multi, you take Cambria, many locations, many different brands, an executive with with a bunch of open inquiries. It's going to be really difficult to keep up to date with changing stock across the different locations, and realistically, the only way that exec has got a chance of converting that lead that's maybe been open for a couple of weeks, if something new comes into stock or some pricing has changed, is to let the tech do that, put the stock back in front of the customer, and then deliver that customer back when they take a positive action, rather than the exec have to spend all their time trawling through stock changes across the group to try and find the car at the price that customer wants. That's what the tech is there to do. But yeah, the accuracy of the data that goes into that is the key to making it all happen, really.
It must be difficult with new clients as well, because from my experience, dealers have just every dealer's got very different system architecture, different types of people that are kind of running it, decision makers, etc. So it's quite complex, really, isn't it, to make a system really work, and you've got to understand what existing architecture is. I mean, partly, I guess, experience will help you there as well. But how unique is each dealer group to allow you to scale your business?
Yeah, I guess there's variations of unique, I suppose, in that there's kind of standard versions of things that then kind of get tweaked. And as you say, the experience we've got, I think we worked out the other day that the senior team at the business have got kind of 300 years automotive experience between them. So we've seen most things. We've seen most things in most systems. Yeah. Some would say some of us look like we've got more of it than others, but there we go. But yeah, so we've seen most things, and I guess we've seen the shortcuts that dealership personnel try to take. So we've seen the spoof email addresses. We've seen the rolled forward service dates. We've seen the early lost sale because allegedly they couldn't get hold of anyone. So we kind of know the tricks that get put in place, and we know how to spot them and feed them back to the dealership management team to say, look, you can make life an awful lot easier for yourself if you stop putting in mickey@mouse.com as an email address, because we'll pick it up. It will bounce, we will find it. Just actually do the job. Just ask the customer their email address, put it in, and ask them if you're okay to use it, and tick that consent box, and life is a lot easier for everybody. Yeah, so like I say, there are variations in how people can use even the similar platforms. Even in DMS world, one person's version of Keyloop won't be identical to another person's, and one person's version of Pinnacle won't be identical to somebody else's. But there are kind of themes that run within them that we kind of know where we're starting from, really, and then we just kind of adjust either way. So yeah, I guess experience of working with that data, both at the coalface front end and through our data hub evolution over the years, really gives us kind of a strong starting point when we kick off with a new client.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, marketing in a general form within the automotive industry is clearly evolving. Consumer expectations continue to rise all the time. Consumers sometimes expect an Amazon type two-click experience, which is very difficult to replicate in automotive given the complexity of products and service that are being sold. But I'd be interested to hear and understand how you see automotive in automotive kind of evolving, particularly against that backdrop of the consumer expectations increasing all the time.
Yeah, and I think that's where we start from, really, is we look at it from a consumer's point of view. So even simple things like all the emails we've ever sent have always had a genuine reply to email, reply to address, because there's nothing worse than receiving a retail email from somebody that you can't reply to. So if you want more information about something, you can't ask anybody. You have to dive into a website and try and find it for yourself. All the SMSs we've ever sent have always been able to reply to, so that again the customer can have a two-way conversation with the dealership. And then that applies through looking where the customers are leading their lives and doing their research, because we know there's a lot more research now done before that a hand is raised at a dealership. We know the rise of social media and how important that's become. So when the customer is in that research phase, making sure stock offers information is available, with EVs, there's a lot more information gathering needed than with a traditional ICE car. A customer that's had 3 Fiestas can't have a Fiesta anymore because they're not made. Where do they go next? What do they look for? There's new brands in the marketplace. The Omodas, the JQs, the BYDs, the Auras. All of these brands didn't exist 2-3 years ago, and the customers have now got to try and figure out who these brands are, where they fit, where the products fit, because the traditional cars that they've bought for numbers of years and decades simply don't exist anymore, some of them, and those that are left are very different from the cars they used to be. So the customer expectation is for a lot of research, but a lot of information to be available. And when they do raise their hand to say, I'm interested, they do expect a response, and they do expect that kind of two-way communication, whether it's digitally or whether it's physically. And the good dealerships are the ones that are across all of that with the right information and the right kind of channels to get that information out to people in the research phase, to then guide people down into that inquiry phase with the dealership and manage that phase through to hopefully a successful conclusion.
Yeah, I mean, I've always found as well, successful startups always start with a kind of seamless and improving customer journey, and that tends to be a good formula for success. So
We all have to think like startups now, don't we? The marketplace and the landscape is changing so rapidly that we all have to think like startups. I joke that we're a 17-year-old startup, but the versions of the software that we deploy now are nothing like the versions of the software we deployed 5 years ago, and even further adrift from what we had 10 years ago, 15 years ago. So I guess part of our growth is that startup mindset. What are we looking for? And I guess you need to be careful not to just do tech for tech's sake. There's lots of AI out there at the minute. There's lots of, I was out at the NADA conference in the States earlier in the year, and lots of the vendors that I saw out there presenting their products had basically the same product they had the year before, but it had all been rebranded as AI. Now, actually, when you delve deeper into it, it's not true AI, and actually, in a lot of cases, true AI isn't needed. If you've got your data management correct and you've got your processes right, then actually AI probably isn't something that you need at the minute. If you've got complex automation algorithms and things in place to drive that communication piece, then is that AI? Well, it's branded as by a lot of people out there. But actually keeping an eye on what tech is needed versus what tech you can do just for the sake of doing it, I think is careful. Is something that needs to be thought about pretty carefully.
AI backed with people that understand the business, etc., I think is really powerful. But AI just being let loose into a business where people have got no control of it, we're pretty cautious about that as well. So completely concur. So finally, Jeremy, for any dealership leaders listening, what's one piece of advice you might give them as they plan for 2025 and beyond?
I think pick your partners carefully. I guess there are businesses out there with as I said, with what looks like exciting tech, but perhaps not experience of the industry. This industry is a fairly unique industry. It has unique challenges, and it's forever changing. So that the partners that have got that experience in automotive and specialise in automotive having grown up with it over the years and seen how it's changed and how its needs are, and are able to take solutions that are tried, tested, and working, versus being somebody else's test pilot. It's very easy to get sucked into the new shiny thing, and you end up actually becoming another somebody else's test pilot rather than doing things that benefit your business. So I think you have to be quite selfish, really, and pick partners with a proven track record that can help your business and deliver quickly, rather than run the risk of being pulled into being somebody else's test pilot.
No, Jeremy, thank you so much for joining us today. I mean, it sounds like marketing delivery will be pivotal for more dealerships as the market tightens and the market continues to evolve next year. If any of our listeners want to learn more or connect with Jeremy, there'll be more details in the show notes. But what's the best way to get in touch with you, Jeremy, if people want to get in touch and inquire on your services?
Yeah, I'm all over LinkedIn, so that's a good place to find me, or drop me an email. Yeah, jeremy.evans@marketing.delivery. Anybody wants to expand it. We're at the AM Live Expo next month with a stand, and we've got a stage slot as well, where we're running a bit of a panel session on some of the metrics behind the work we do, and what kind of omni-channel marketing means and how you measure success on that. So that might be quite interesting for people if they want to pop along to see us there.
That's great. Well, I'll certainly be there. So I'll see you at AM Live.
I'll see you there.
Great. All right, Jeremy, thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
If you want to listen to more episodes of the podcast, we're on all good audio platforms. Our website is also www.cambriaprivatecapital.com. And you can also find myself on LinkedIn and Twitter, where we publish our weekly blogs as well. Please do get in touch if you want more information.